Welcome to Loyalistic video blog. I'm Antti Pietilä, and today I have a guest, Jos Schuurmans, is a founder of Cluetail, a digital marketing consultancy here in Finland. Jos is actually Dutch.
That's right. Yeah.
And we are talking about content marketing as a way to get abroad. So going international.
Yeah. Which is a big challenge for a lot of businesses, and I think particularly in Finland there's a big need for internationalization and for marketing and of course nowadays with content marketing with the internet, it is possible to reach a global, or to start actually from a global audience immediately.
Yeah, that's true. And the problem many growing companies have is that they reach the local market with sales first approach. But when they are going abroad, they start to set up country offices, and that's really a slow way to go abroad, to build the network of people that they know and so forth.
Yeah.
Whereas using content marketing and inbound ways to generate interest first and then serve probably over remote meetings on the earlier phase of the sales pipeline or sales funnel, and then you can fly to the country once you have get far enough in the sales funnel.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there is a huge opportunity to go abroad with much less money and in much shorter time than used to be the case. So the model has been for decades to pick a country, do some market research, and then go there, send someone there.
Yeah.
And typically you would have to have someone on payroll for a year and a half to get any business started. Whereas nowadays, with the digital tools being so available and being so affordable, you can actually make that part of a lean marketing approach, if you will. So you could, for example, set up a one-page website in different languages, maybe 10 different languages. Put it out there, put the same content there in those in those 10 different languages, to see if you can address an audience in any of those 10 language areas. And if something sticks, if something gets a response, if someone makes a YouTube video about it, or a blog post and links to your page, and it gets traction, then you have something to work with, and you can kind of put a little bit more resource there and see if it grows. And that's so much less expensive, and you can address so many different potential markets at the same time, and let that decide where you focus, and also let that inform your product development.
And basically you're doing market research by trying to go to 10 markets with very low expenditure per country, few €100 per country, basically. And then you see that if you get any traction, or if you want to do it properly, maybe you put a few €1,000 or dollars per each country.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see that in the software market at the moment, in especially in cloud services, the international players are never going abroad with the way that we from the small countries are going abroad. They will never set up a country office or area office before they have at least 3 million in turnover from that area already existing. So the country office is set after the fact, not before the fact.
Yeah.
It's built to support the market and optimize for the market, and not to actually expand to that market. It's almost always done in software industry nowadays. If you look at the new companies or newer companies, it's done by content-based inbound marketing plus inside sales.
Right.
Almost always.
Yeah.
There's very, very little field sales, even on the enterprise sector.
Yeah. So the challenge there is, of course, you're still dealing with different markets if you make 10 different sites.
Yeah.
And if you want to be efficient with your content creation, then ideally you would have kind of one master content, if you will, in, let's call it World English, which you can then easily translate to those 10 different languages. But the question is still, what is the content that I should create, right? So I think it is an iterative content creation process as well, because you get more informed as you go forward, as you do things. So by creating content, or when you start creating content, of course you have to have an initial idea, an initial concept of your ideal audience. So you do define buyer personas or target customers, or how you want to call it, for whom you write. And you write about things that you assume are interesting for the people you're trying to reach, but not necessarily about your service, about your product, but something that your ideal customers have in common, a common interest that you write about, so that you attract the right kind of people.
Yeah. Maybe we shouldn't go too deep on the internals of the content marketing, because that will take a couple of hours to cover. But if we think about the question whether you should actually localize the content to different markets, and the answer is not in the beginning. Basically, why you are actually translating the content in the first place is that the competition in English language is usually so fierce that it's almost impossible to get any traffic there to reach Google's first page or even second page with effort that you are just starting up. It's possible for few master marketers, but for a common, let's say, someone who's starting on the content marketing, who's starting on the CEO and stuff like that, it's really, really hard. On the other hand, the English market is good to analyze whether there are gaps in the content offering, because almost all the content is published in English first, and then once you find areas that are weaker than the other areas, you create World English content to that, but translate it to local markets where the competition is usually much lower. It's much easier to rank in French or German or Swedish or Finnish or you name it, than to rank in the global English.
Yeah, that's right. Of course, you will still have differences in audiences per country or per market. So part of your content strategy would be to actually go and look where your target audience in a particular country hangs out online.
Yeah.
So to find the right channels, the right communities, online communities, the right publications that people are interested. So you can tap into that, and you can kind of offer interesting additional value to the kind of content that people already consume.
What I'm advising usually is that you first start with quite a simple operation. You target, let's say, 10 countries without any localization other than translation. You basically are translating the same ads to different countries, regardless of whether they use Facebook there or not. You kind of do it as a blanket strategy, and then you'll see that which markets kind of stick. Then you can decide, okay, we are moving our effort away from those 5 countries that doesn't perform so well, and we are putting more effort to those 5, and especially for those 2 that we are getting the best traction on, and putting all the resources there. And on the 2nd or 3rd or 4th wave, we are starting to add real localization, like having a different strategy, selecting different promotion channels, having true localized content.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't do it too complicated in the beginning.
That's right. And I think one of the very powerful aspects of this approach is that if you do that early, then it helps you in your product development and your service development as well, which is another kind of a different way of thinking from how most companies still at the moment go about it. Because usually they create or they develop a product first or a service, and then start thinking, okay, how are we going to market this? And in the worst case, you might find out that there is no market for it, that no one is interested in it, or that while you were developing it, a competitor came along who was clever enough to build an audience, and you may be set back that way.
Do you know how the startup starts nowadays, especially in the States and elsewhere? They start content marketing the day they start the company. They start it before they have written any line of code or done any development on the product. They start to build the audience, and once they are ready with the beta launch of the product, they might have tens of thousands of followers already. They haven't revealed anything regarding the product itself in the content, but they have talked about the topic area, and they have learned that what are the challenges that the customers are having, and they have written about it, and so on. So the people are waiting that you are launching something on the space, but they don't know what. Maybe they know that you're kind of a software company. It's probably be in software.
But they are anticipating your solution. Because they know that you understand their needs and that you're working on something interesting.
So let's put this together. So to reach a global market, or let's say any other market than where you are now, one of the best approaches nowadays is to start a content marketing / inbound marketing operation towards those areas. Probably skip the market research altogether and do a market research with marketing. So you kind of try to create an audience, and if it sticks, then you go there. If it doesn't, then you consider that market later on, once you have more speed. And then to use inside sales, as you already have interest on the market. You don't have to try to book the face-to-face meeting so early in the sales process. And that way you don't have to set up the country office early on.
Maybe you can unpack inside sales.
The inside sales basically means that you sell your salespeople sit at your office, and they use digital means, usually remote meeting software, Zoom, GoToMeeting, and so forth, to discuss with the customer. But as the customer is really interested about what you are offering based on your content, those talks are all usually quite okay. They are not that. They don't convert that well as face-to-face meeting, but as a customer is interested and owning the process, not the salesperson. In face-to-face sales or outbound sales, the salesperson owns the process and the customer is playing hard to win. Whereas in inbound marketing, it kind of turns around, and that way you can use much lighter sales methods, at least in the earlier steps where you want to minimize the customer acquisition cost at that end. But thank you for watching, and remember to subscribe. More content is coming soon. So until next time, cheers.
Thank you.